So once again, I reached out to Elegoo to try to get them to send me one of their pro models, and they kindly told me to F off. So, good old Slamazone to the rescue. I don't need a second printer, but it would have been nice to have something to compare my machine against. The Neptune 3 is still not even out of pre-sale yet, and they've got this pro model. Gotta love 3D printer marketing. It kind of ranks right up there with toilet paper math. Buy 3 rolls and it's the equivalent of 72. Wipe your ass in all different ways. I don't know. So, I just want to get this thing out of the box, put it together, see what's what, and whatever. Do a quick review on it. All the reviews that you see online, they're all shit and roses and perfume because they get this stuff handed to them. I don't, so screw it. I'm doing a full unbiased. So I got the gantry out of the box. And much to my dismay, where did you come from? That was down in here. So somewhere, this one's already got a couple screws in its head loose. I'm going to have to see if I can find where that came from. Okay, I found it. Fell out of the 1Z-axis stepper motor. I do like that they went to this 3-sided slotted extrusion. That's pretty cool. They did answer... I think they've been peeking around at my videos because they did answer my prayer with one thing. That thing's pretty square right out of the box. They machined 2 little cutaways here and here for the rails to fit into. But on this rail, there was a huge burr on the bottom of the extrusion, which kind of prevented the rail from fitting into that slot. So I had to kind of knock it down a little bit. Looking at here, this side rail, hard to see, but not perfectly square. See if you can see my fingers behind it. No. Not perfectly square, but could probably just loosen these and slide this over a little bit. The gantry assembly was tight between here and the other side. This side here was the one that I tightened first. And it's pretty much on the money. I mean, it's good. So, initial build, not too bad. I mean, gantry goes on. There's only a handful of screws. There's not a lot of screws. There's the side plate for the screen. Ribbon cable that a lot of these companies seem to be going to. Now they're going to a ribbon cable instead of wires. 6 to 1, half dozen the other. These are a little tough to access because of this cable, but you have to kind of like slide this down a little bit and you'll make room for it. But just have to make a couple more connections and we should be ready to fire this thing up. All right, so I got it together. I got it powered up. Pretty easy to put together. Easier than the Neptune 3, actually. I still have to adjust the wheels and try to do some test prints. The main screen looks very much like the Neptune 3. The firmware is not the same. So under settings, about machine. So the firmware is not the same, which means that I can't use the firmware that I have. The LED lighting, I don't care for it. I like my side lights better than the top light. The top lights, they're a higher frequency. I think they look like they're about 5 or 6K. It's hard to tell with the camera, but it's that hideous, so white it's almost blue kind of light. I'm more a fan of the 4000 frequency myself. The extruder, direct drive, all plastic. A couple of little metal bits on the inside for the drive gears and stuff, but the housing and everything's all plastic. Brass insert for wear resistance. The Kachunka's got a plastic thumb to it. They got a little cheap with this. My Creality E-Fit, that thing is all metal. So I'm kind of biased, I guess. The dual screws, there's 2 motors, but then there's also a belt drive on top to try and keep things in line or keep things in check, because there may be a tendency for one motor to drive more or less than the other. So this just kind of tries and keep those in sync. Because of that, there's no auto gantry square. I'm going to pop the cover off the bottom and see how this is set up. I think it's a parallel Z. And if it's parallel Z, chances are there's an extra socket for an additional drive. And if there is a socket for the additional drive, I've got additional drives. But if I can't get into the firmware and bastardize it, I can't set this up for auto gantry square. So the next thing I want to try and do, I've got my USB connected to it, going to my Octoprint server MKS Pi. I'm going to try and connect to the machine. Okay, loading up Octoprint. Connect. All right, it's on Octoprint. Send a command to move it. All right, so it's moving. So it's on Octoprint. Check terminal. All right, it's getting feedback. So this is running Marlin 2.1.1. I wonder how long it's going to take to do a bed level on this. Let's go to EEPROM, do a load here. We can get all the information for the software. We can check the steps, feed rates, acceleration settings, the offsets for the probe value, PID tuning. So yeah, we've got pretty much everything. It looks like linear advance is turned on in the software as well. So let's run a bed level. Go to settings first, temperature, level. I don't want to do with temperature. I just want to do it quick. No, it doesn't let you turn off the temperatures. Very strange. Very strange indeed. This is different than the other one where you can click on the windows and get a little pop-up. That sucks. The screen works nice. Doesn't work any better than the resistive screen though. Turn fan on. Fans are quiet. Temperature setting, level. Yeah, it doesn't let you. And I think it was set to 140 and it jumped to 160 when I hit negative. So the bed temp will go up to 110. The standoffs are still plastic, but there's only 4 of them. If I were to keep this machine, I would immediately replace these with the aluminum ones that I have. Bed heater looks about the same. Everything looks about the same. There's just enough room in there for linear rail. Hint, hint. So let's run a bed level and see how long it takes. It's going to do 36 points. And again, it's an inductive sensor. I tried to put my finger in front of it to see if it would pick up anything, and it didn't pick it up. So it's only picking up the PEI sheet because it's metal, which is, I guess, good and bad. It's good because it's good for the PEI sheet. It's bad if you want to use a glass bed or a G10 surface. It came with bed level numbers already in there. Oh, here we go. You have to hit that button, calibrate the bed. This is only for setting Z offset. That's different. Confirm. So now it's going to heat up. Sitting here going, why is this thing just sitting here? I thought it was warming up and there was nothing in there. All right. Well, going to start a timer and see how long it takes to actually do the 36 points after everything heats up. So I will be back. Okay, it takes 3 solid minutes after warming up to do the bed level, which is okay. It's not great considering my machine is now under 3 minutes with gantry squaring built into it as well. With the BL Touch, I haven't done it with the inductive or capacitive sensors yet. Doesn't look like there's an easy way of getting a capacitive sensor in there, so you're kind of stuck with the surface that they give you. All in all, it seems like a good machine. I'm going to crack open the electronic cabinet and see what's going on in there. I know that the ZMP Robin board that they're putting on this machine is different than the Neptune 3. Neptune 3 is the V2.1. This is the V2.2, and they have eliminated the BL Touch input, so you couldn't put a BL Touch on this even if you tried. Another thing is that I did notice that there's a bit of a slight burning plastic smell going on with this thing, so I'd like to get to the bottom of that. Also, one good thing is that my bearing-loaded filament holder screws on tight and the bearings line up. So that's good. That's a plus. Probably just going to throw some PLA onto here and run a test print and see what it does. May as well. Smoke them if you got them, right? So now I don't know if it's the difference in the cabinet dimensioning or what, but I don't know. This board looks a little bit smaller than the other one. But you can see it's got the plug for the Wi-Fi. Pretty much all the same except for the fact that they removed the BL Touch port. It's the same chip. It's the ARM STM32F4. It's got the plug for the extra extruder, or if you wanted to go with the true dual Z. So it appears that the Z, the dual Z, is a parallel, like I thought it was. So if you wanted true dual, you'd have to remove the timing belt, and you'd have to add the additional driver here. The enclosure plate, surprisingly, is metal. The housing is still plastic. Power supply looks to be about the same, but it's also labeled on the back here for that little plug to be a 24-volt output. It's got plenty of room for any kind of additional stuff here, but nothing really to write home about. Curious of the voltage that drives the inductive sensor. I think it's a 5-volt inductive sensor, but I won't know until I trace back the wire and see where it goes. So realistically, it's going to be part of the ribbon cable, so I just have to find it. Going back to what I was saying before about the light, I don't like the top-mounted light. I'm actually not unhappy about getting side lights, because when this thing is in the down position, I've got the camera light on, but if this thing is down here, you can't see what's going on. So it's kind of short-sighted, if you will. I've got my filament in. They tested it with some blue. So I'm going to get my part ready and send it on over. So I do think the cable management could be a little bit better on the left-hand side here. This makes a hell of a racket when it's kind of like wiggling around. I was trying to home it out and I heard, and this thing was kind of like just rubbing. The wires on this 1Z motor are also strangely close to the coupling. That could be an issue if you're not careful with it. Over here is not bad, but over there it's kind of an afterthought. Not too keen on that. So I'm running my quintessential test print, and while that's running, I just want to go over some of the stuff that I actually really like about this. So if we go into settings, the first thing that I like is that I can turn off that light. It's horrible. I don't like the color of the light. But down in this portion here, the advanced settings, we've got an adjustment for the brightness of the backlight on the screen. We can turn off the key sound. That's cool. And then under motor settings, E-pulse, we can set the E-steps right here on the fly. If we go into speed settings, we can change the maximum speeds. We can change maximum acceleration. And then this guy right here is whether or not to enable or disable power loss recovery. So there's a lot of additional settings on this screen that are not on the standard Neptune 3. I don't know why. I don't know why we have to go into EEPROM settings in Octoprint or Repetier or the like, and why this one can get that page and those of us with the standard machine don't have that luxury, but that's neither here nor there. I have tried to dig into the DWin firmware, and I'm not having much luck with it. I tried opening the H43 MakerBase DWin program. That opened up fine. I don't understand what's wrong with the Neptune 3 screen firmware, that some people can get it to open, other people can't get it to open, and mostly the ones that can get it to open are over in China, but even the developer from DWin can't open it up on his personal computer. He can only open it up at work. So it doesn't make any sense. It would be nice to get some screen updates for the standard machine, because that's really some of the downfall of the standard machine, is that the screen is very lacking. And this has a lot of the stuff that you would want to use. So the show goes on. So while this thing is running, I am noticing one difference between this and the standard Neptune 3 is that travel moves don't sound as crunchy on this machine as they do on mine. I'm wondering if the pressure from extrusion is actually making the nozzle raise a little bit. Something to think about. Be nice to have a diagnostic page to see if the strain gauge is actually being triggered as it's extruding, because I know on my machine, I mean, not so much with these short pieces, but I know with taller pieces, it just starts ramming across them and making a whole hell of a noise. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it, because like I said, I mean, this one's pretty silent on the travel moves. It just started to make me think. But we're just about ready to finish up my quintessential print here, and I'm going to do a calibration cube and just see how well dialed in it is and give you my final thoughts. Well, there it is. I don't usually save projects, so to speak, so I always reslice the stuff that I have. Worked out well. This is the first part I ever printed, and here's the latest and greatest. The texture on the bottom is like perfect. There is almost no camel toe at all. I do like that. This is my PEI sheet. I didn't want to score up the fresh one for the next guy. But yeah, so far it seems to be printing pretty well. I want to do a calibration cube just to see how they come from the factory, if they're accurate or if they need to be adjusted, and then that'll be it. So calibration cube is done. It looks nice. A little bit of ringing on the faces, but check the dimensions. Okay. It's 20 millimeter cube. And yeah, it's checking out 20 millimeters X and Y. And the Z. A little... not very bad, but yeah, a little heavy on the Z, but not... I mean, 1,000 is not bad. I would say that that's a winner. So nothing needs to be checked there. There's no camel toe to speak of on this part. I don't know. Maybe I will keep it. We shall see. So being that I can't bastardize it with firmware, I guess that'll pretty much wrap it up. Initial impressions, I think this thing is pretty awesome, honestly. I like the fact that it's only 20 bucks more than the standard Neptune 3. And you get the dual screw and you get the direct drive extruder. So for the current going price, you can't beat this thing. I really like the fact that my first 2 prints out of the box have zero camel toe. That's pretty awesome. It connects to Octoprint. It's got all the settings that you would ever really want to do as a non-enthusiast, say. It's got all the settings built right into the hand control. No EEPROM settings, no Pronterface, no Repetier, no Octoprint. None of that horse shit. So, aside from little cabling issues that I wasn't really fond of, and there's a weird smell coming off of it. I don't know where that's coming from. I think it's worth every penny. It gets my thumbs up. And to all the people that I pissed off by saying I was going to return it, sorry, not sorry. Thanks for watching.